You know what else is absurd? The punishment the NCAA is levying on, I can't even say Michigan, on Jim Harbaugh. The NCAA announced a 4-year show cause order for former Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh yesterday for impermissible contact with recruits and players while access was restricted during the COVID-19 pandemic, effectively banning him from college athletics until August of 2028. You know what's crazy about this? This is not the punishment for the sign-stealing scandal. This has nothing to do with the sign-stealing scandal. This is a punishment for complete and totally separate infractions, and he is getting a essential nearly half a decade ban from college sports, and the sign-stealing stuff still is being investigated and decided upon. He won a national championship with 4 years of punishment-worthy cheating plus the sign-stealing scandal worth of cheating, and it's just going to be Michigan making it out of there scot-free. This punishment, although it seems substantial, doesn't hurt anyone. This is us here in North Carolina getting like, all right, you've really messed up. You are now banned from eating at In-N-Out for 2 years. I'm going like, well, I don't live in California. There's no In-N-Outs around me. I accept the punishment. Jim Harbaugh isn't a college football coach. Banning him from playing or coaching in college football is irrelevant. Michigan needs to be hurt. And by the way, I've said this before because I never want it to be misconstrued, not talking about the players for Michigan. I believe every time a penalty is levied against a program, the program should wear the brunt of the punishment and players should be allowed to leave at that time scot-free if they want to, because they don't deserve to stick around and serve the punishment out for the adults around them. Michigan needs to be hurt, and that is simply to dissuade others from breaking the rules. Because what I see now is if your coach is desired by the NFL, and there are a handful, but they're usually at particular schools, there are a handful of coaches that the NFL has pretty much given a, hey, whenever you want to come up here and give it a try, let us know. If you have one of those coaches, what this is saying is you can cheat as much as you want to, because when the sanctions come down, you can just jump to the NFL and none of this will stick with you. So you need to dissuade others from knowing that fact by punishing Michigan. And I know there are loose recruiting, self-imposed deals that Michigan's tried to get ahead of this with. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something as severe as what you've given Jim Harbaugh. A 4-year postseason ban might do it. That's the type of thing you need to do to actually dissuade others from doing it. I'll use an ACC example. If Clemson, and I know Clemson has Dabo Swinney with the morals and the values, and he's always promoting it, so they would never. But if Clemson wanted to be a bit nefarious, they wanted to be a bit mischievous, Dabo almost got the Jacksonville Jaguars job when Urban Meyer got it. He knows the NFL would be willing to give him a job. If he wanted to cheat right up until he got caught, and once he gets caught, bounce. Meanwhile, Clemson gets to keep all the wins and championships he wins in the meantime. What's to stop them? Now, here's the flip side of that coin, and it's the more harrowing. This is where, you realize that the door outside to leave the haunted house is locked. Oh, no, right? Goes from a scary movie to now it's real scary. I'm not sure the NCAA can do what I'm asking them to do. I'm not sure Michigan doesn't have more power than the NCAA. There are a handful of blue blood football programs in power conferences, of which Michigan would be one, who might have more power than the NCAA. To where if you did drop the hammer on Michigan, the threat would be, right? The concern would be from the NCAA that Michigan would turn around to all their blue blood friends and say, "You're right. This is dumb. Let's kick this joint. Let's go start our own thing." They're messing around with these punishments, trying to act like we did something wrong. Why don't we split out from the NCAA and start our own thing? And the NCAA would be absolutely upended. Right? And then all of the hopes or all of the fears and the concerns of the bottom half of the ACC would be realized. Right? Because then if you think they're going to split out and make their own thing for football, will Clemson, Florida State, probably State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, I believe most of them will have a place to go. But if you think Boston College and Syracuse are getting that call, they're just not.
They're not. Pitt,
not getting that call. Georgia Tech, probably not getting that call.
Nope.
So the NCAA is sitting there going, okay, we could bow our neck and do what is right against Michigan, but that might be the inciting factor that ruins what we have going. Not to mention the NCAA is out for the NCAA, and they want to have whatever minuscule power they do over those big schools. So it's a rock and a hard place, right? You're trapped. I'm sitting here saying you have to do something to punish Michigan, and they're sitting there going, well, if we punish Michigan, our whole house of cards might come crashing down.
NCAA has no power. Let's call it what it is. You can fight the NCAA. Heck, UNC did it in the whole AFAM, scandal with classes a few years ago. We saw NC State fight against it with the whole Dennis Smith Jr. and the men's basketball program a few years ago. And guess what? Came away unscathed.
Yeah. I mean, it's a problem that the NCAA is all bark and no bite. And with every time it happens, you just referenced some very, very astute triangle examples. Mm-hmm. But Kansas basketball, right? LSU basketball, where they have coaches in LSU, they have coaches like on recording talking about impermissible benefits when they were not allowed. When every time that happens, every time this Michigan situation happens, every time a coach is caught up in it and there's no real punishment, the NCAA becomes less and less and less of a fear factor. They become less and less and less of a effective governor of what they are supposed to be governing. And the thing that I hate most about it, and I hope that the schools we cover fall into this category, if you're doing things the right way, if you are asking compliance, hey, I know the rules change every week. Am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to do that? If you're meeting with your compliance officer every single week saying, tell me what's updated, what's new, I don't want to break any rules. If you're doing what is correct, you might be at a massive disadvantage. It's and I don't know if this number is actually true. Somebody once quoted this to me, and I use it as an example now. One of those old Tour de France's, I don't know. What's the multiple of Tour de France?
Yes.
Tour de France's. One of those old Tour de France's, something like 43 of the top 44 cyclists have since tested positive at some point in time for performance-enhancing drugs. And what you realize is, that one clean racer was at a massive disadvantage.
Yeah.
And for success in their career, probably would have been better off doping, right? Maybe would have won a couple races, and everyone's doing it. I don't want it to get to that point where it's like no one's listening to recruiting rules. No one's listening to whatever the NCAA sets up as their bylaws, because the NCAA can't enforce it. And thus, the teams that are doing well, the teams that are basically doing what they should and listening to the rules, are now at a massive disadvantage. And the best they can finish in the Tour de France is like 37th, because the 36 ahead of them are all juiced to the gills. Punish Michigan. And if you can't, find someone that can.